Colin Farrell's story isn't one of a typical Hollywood leading man. His rise wasn't linear, his fame wasn't planned, and his transformation. Well, no one saw that coming. In the mid-90s, Colin Farrell wasn't an actor. He wasn't even close. In fact, the only thing he was close to was trouble. Growing up in Castleknock, a suburban area of Dublin, Farrell was the son of a football legend, Colin Farrell. His father's career on the pitch set expectations, but Colin couldn't have cared less. Sports didn't excite him. Rules? Authority? He rejected all of it. By 17, he had dropped out of multiple schools. Drinking, partying, and getting into fights were his real education. But beneath the wild streak, there was something else. Farrell often claimed he didn't know what he wanted to do, but he wasn't completely lost. Music briefly caught his interest, inspired by his brother Eamon Jr., who was pursuing his own artistic career as a DJ. Colin thought he might be a musician, but even that felt too restrictive. His life was spiraling, aimless, until an unexpected spark lit the way. By chance, Colin stumbled into the Gaiety School of Acting in Dublin. His sister, Claudine, had suggested he try acting. She saw something in him that no one else did. Colin, skeptical, gave it a shot. At first, it was another outlet for rebellion. He was disruptive, showed up late, and even got into fights during rehearsals. The traditional theater students didn't know what to make of him. He had no respect for the process, for the craft, or so it seemed. But there was an undeniable spark there, too. When Colin was on stage, he wasn't just acting. He was living. It was the first time his chaotic energy had a focus. The teachers noticed it. His peers saw it, too. He wasn't playing by the rules, but maybe that's what made him stand out. Hollywood wasn't far behind. In 1999, Farrell landed his first significant role in the independent film Tigerland. Directed by Joel Schumacher, Tigerland was a gritty war film, and Farrell played Private Roland Boz, a rebellious soldier who disobeyed orders and questioned authority at every turn. In a way, it was the perfect role for Farrell at that time, a character so close to his own personality that he barely had to act. But while his raw talent was undeniable, his off-screen persona quickly became just as famous. Stories of his wild behavior on set spread fast. He partied hard, drank heavily, and didn't care about Hollywood's expectations of how a star should behave. Farrell was a tornado tearing through the film industry, captivating everyone, but leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. Phone Booth, 2002, was the turning point. Directed by Joel Schumacher once again, this film was a psychological thriller about a man trapped in a phone booth by a sniper. Farrell carried the entire movie with his intense, riveting performance. Suddenly, he was a household name. And not just a name, he was the name, the next big thing. But with the fame came the darker side of Farrell's lifestyle. Hollywood, it turned out, loved its bad boys. And Colin Farrell was more than willing to play the part. He was constantly in the tabloids, and it wasn't for his acting. He was seen leaving clubs at 4 a.m., drunk, disheveled, often with a different woman on his arm. There were rumors of drug abuse, heavy drinking, and volatile behavior. Directors who worked with him on Daredevil 2003 and SW8 2003 began to question if he was more trouble than he was worth. But it wasn't just the media. On set, Farrell's unpredictability was becoming a liability. Reports of him being difficult to work with began circulating. His co-stars spoke of his intense mood swings, his disappearances between takes, and his tendency to show up hungover, or worse. Producers began to wonder, was he too far gone? Would Colin Farrell, Hollywood's rising star, crash before he even reached the peak? By 2006, things had hit a breaking point. Farrell's personal life was a public spectacle. There were the wild nights, the infamous sex tape, and public arguments with everyone from paparazzi to co-stars. His relationships with women, including high-profile romances with the likes of Britney Spears, Angelina Jolie, and Elizabeth Taylor, became tabloid fodder. He had become the epitome of Hollywood excess, a cautionary tale in the making. Behind the scenes, Farrell was spiraling into addiction. Cocaine and alcohol were his constant companions. It wasn't just about partying anymore, it was about survival. The fame had come too fast, the pressure too heavy. In an interview years later, Farrell admitted he couldn't go a day without drinking. He didn't remember large chunks of his life, blacked out during films, interviews, and even red carpet events. It was during the filming of Miami Vice 2006 that it all fell apart. Farrell was barely functioning on set, and the film's performance at the box office reflected his chaotic state. The failure hit him hard. He knew something had to change. In December of that year, Farrell checked into rehab. It wasn't a PR move, and it wasn't about saving his career. It was about saving his life. He disappeared from the public eye for months. Hollywood whispered, was he done? Would this be the last we heard of Colin Farrell, the actor, the star? What no one expected was his return. When Colin Farrell re-emerged in 2008, he wasn't the same man who had vanished months before. He was sober, focused, and, for the first time, truly serious about his craft. And it was his role in En Bruges that signaled the rebirth of Colin Farrell as an actor, not just a celebrity. Playing Ray, a guilt-ridden hitman hiding out in the small Belgian town of Bruges, Farrell brought vulnerability, humor, and heartbreak to the screen. It was a far cry from the macho roles he had taken on in the past. Audiences and critics alike were stunned. This was a different Colin Farrell, and this time they saw him for what he truly was, an actor of depth and complexity, capable of far more than anyone had imagined. He won his first Golden Globe for the role, a testament to his transformation. But more than that, he earned respect. Farrell didn't rest on his laurels. Over the next decade, he took on increasingly challenging roles, each one a new layer of his evolving career. In The Lobster, 2015, a dystopian love story, he played a man desperate for connection in a world where being single meant literal death. Gaining weight, shaving his trademark scruffy beard, and embracing an awkward, insecure character, Farrell disappeared into the role. It was a performance that once again showcased his versatility. By the time The Killing of a Sacred Deer, 2017, and The Beguiled, 2017, hit theaters, Colin Farrell's reputation as a serious actor had been solidified. These were dark, disturbing films, and Farrell's performances were chilling. He had gone from the reckless bad boy to a methodical, intense artist willing to push boundaries. But the role that would bring him full circle was his portrayal of Padraig in The Banshees of Inisherin, 2022. Set in a small, isolated Irish village, it was a return to his roots in many ways, both geographically and emotionally. The film, a tragicomic tale of friendship unraveling, allowed Farrell to show his full range. He was tender, funny, heartbroken, and lost. It was a deeply personal performance, one that resonated with his own journey of self-destruction and redemption. For the first time in his career, Farrell wasn't just being praised for a good performance. He was being talked about as a serious contender for the Oscars. The transformation was complete. He had gone from Dublin's troubled rebel to one of the most respected actors in Hollywood. But the journey wasn't just about his career. It was about survival. Colin Farrell had fought his demons, faced his darkest moments, and come out the other side. stronger, wiser, and more focused than ever. His story wasn't just one of Hollywood reinvention. It was a story of personal redemption, of a man who had been to the edge and found a way back. Colin Farrell, the actor, had finally become the person no one thought he could be, someone who mattered. And this time, he wasn't letting it slip away.